teach drama at Monticello High School.
All right, now you'll have to do that one more time because it just started.
I'm Madeline Michael, and I teach drama at Monticello High School. I used to be an English teacher, and for many years in Baltimore City. And then I came down here. I've taught English, I've been a reading specialist, I'm certified to teach math, but I don't teach math. I do math tutoring sometimes.
But kids actually learn a lot of math in drama.
I mean, they learn a lot of math in the building of the sets, absolutely, and in the design. But anyway, I'm not going to say that I'm a theater lover. I'm really not in it for the discipline. I'm in it for the kids. I'm a teenager lover. I love to work with teenagers, and I could probably work with them in any subject. I used to do history. I used to be the history coach for National History Day, and I loved history too. But I think for me, theater is probably really different from what I experienced growing up, what theater was. It was a very, theater was a very like selective group, and it only attracted a certain type of person. And I was a theater kid, but I also hated all the theater kids at the same time. And the stereotype of theater kid is what I kind of wanted to get away from, because you know, theater is, I like to tell my kids that everything is theater. Like sports is theater, politics is theater, parties are theater. Like when you walk through the hallways, you are performing theater because you're putting on a persona that isn't necessarily you, but you're performing for the people you're walking past. So if you go by everything is theater, you can really make it fun because it's so much a part of life. So for me, the thing that really interests me most of all is playwriting, and that's just a me thing because I love to write, and I love to help kids write. So I have spent every summer, like for the last 15 years, working with students on playwriting, which I really enjoy. So we have, you know, weekly meetings. We meet at, you know, Panera or whatever, and we work. This year we have 2 original plays, and you have to be, okay, so here, the paradigm is really messed up. The theater paradigm in high schools is messed up because it's all about competition. You have to go to competitions, and you can't get paid. Here's the thing, you can't get paid in theater for like doing these fall plays. I can't get paid for this unless I'm part of the Virginia High School League. And to be part of the Virginia High School League, you have to do a competition. And, you know, I am really morally against competing in the arts. I think it's really stressful and...
Hi, Charlie. He's a sweet
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing? I'm good.
Hi, John.
I'm in love with Charlie.
Oh, Charlie's
Yeah.
a sweetheart.
Yeah.
We're down doing an interview. Feel free to listen, okay?
Oh, geez, I'm sorry.
No,
No,
that's
that's
all
okay.
right.
Don't
It
worry
doesn't
about
matter. It's all good. Just listen. So anyway, so you're morally
I'm
against.
morally against making theater a competition and making rules. When you go to these competitions, it's so awful. Like the kids have to hear what are the rules. If you step foot on the stage, then your timing starts then, and you can get disqualified if you go over. I mean, we were once disqualified. We won a competition and then we were disqualified because we were 32 seconds over. I'm like, and first of all, I've won competitions. It's not like I'm a bitter person because we haven't won. We've won lots of competitions. I don't believe in this. And I think it's so counterintuitive to take something that should be inclusive and happy and collaborative and make it into a competition. So that's how I feel about theater.
So, you know, there is so much about the world of America, whether it's in our schools or in the workforce or in the community, that competition is really celebrated.
Oh,
You know, everything is competitive. You know, hierarchies and who, you know, whether your kid gets the highest SAT
Right.
scores
Everything
or
has
finishes,
to be competition.
you know,
Yeah.
and then it's like, you know, does my kid have the best job or
Yeah.
making the most money or graduated from the best college or whatever. And so one of the things I think about is that when you take kids to these competitions because you quote have to
Right.
go in order for their work to be recognized and you to be able to
Exactly.
get paid. How do you said right off the bat, you didn't say I teach kids or I teach drama. You said I work with teenagers was
Yeah.
kind of where you started. I work
Right.
with them. How do you work with kids to understand competition?
Well, first of all, I have a very strong sense of like my childhood and my teenage years are very much in my brain. And in some ways, I've really never grown up because I've always been kind of a rebel and I have the heart of a rebel. And I encourage rebellion where it's healthy because I think there are so many things that need changing and so many things I thought would have changed by now that haven't changed. So questioning authority, yes, always do it. And so I question myself at times because I'm an authority figure. So I have to constantly question myself and make sure that I'm doing right by my kids at all times. I'm not a grudge holder. I can't stay mad at any kid for more than, I don't know, like a minute and a half or something. I believe in second chances and third and fourth and fifth. I believe in in redemption. And I believe that, I don't know, I just really like kids so much. And even the ones that are considered difficult, there's always a backstory. That's what I teach my kids first and foremost, that backstories are everything. And by sharing our backstories, last year I had a class where, there was one boy who's, he saw his family get shot by the Taliban, and another girl was held in a cage at the border, and another girl lost her father to COVID. And everybody has, some kind of backstory that enriches the group. If you feel comfortable telling your backstory, it makes the rest of us more informed people, richer people, more empathetic people. And so selfishly, I've become a better person through my students. I've learned so much. They've taught me way more than I've ever taught them. So I know more about the world. I know more about, how their minds are developing than I would have if I didn't have personal relationships with them. But I also understand that because I'm an elective teacher, I have the time to do this. And I know that there are teachers out there who are constantly pressed for time, got to get this done because there's a test coming up or whatever. So, I have the privilege of making my own curriculum, which I do all the time. And I make my curriculum based on who's in my class and what they need to know and what they're interested in. So, I learned early on, for example, I had to, when I was an English teacher teaching in Baltimore, there were certain things we had to teach. And a lot of them were really boring things. Most kids don't want to read Shakespeare. So I would pick out the one that was most accessible to my students. That was usually Othello. And then we would sort of act it out together and, pull out. It's always fun when you pull out costumes and weapons and stuff like that. But there are a lot of things that I don't touch because most of my students aren't interested. So we have a student-run Shakespeare program, and it's really student-run. And it was there before I was there. It got started by the gifted resource teacher, and they do it, and they do it themselves. And it's only a certain kind of kid. It's the least diverse student group of, my theater program, because it's only a certain kind of kid that wants to be in that room in, doing Shakespeare. I did once have this Black girl named Italia who joined the group, and she was so open to everything and such a good actress and so smart, but she could only last 1 year, and she was like, I'm never going to do this again. It just wasn't engaging for her. But it's a great thing for kids to be able to do on their own. And so you have to give them permission and, costume availability. I'll help you in whatever way I can, but I'm not going to own this. You're going to own this. So now I have these 2 plays going up that are being directed, and they were written and directed by students. And I was there for the first rehearsal, and the director kept looking at me like, why do you keep saying stuff? And I keep excusing myself and saying, look, I'm sorry, I won't do this past today. I just want to get certain things established. And so for the rest of the time, I'm going to kind of help organize, work with the designers, work with the tech kids, and sort of let the students go on their own until they need me. But I find that if you don't care about, I care about community, not competition. So if a play isn't perfect, if it isn't acted perfectly, if the lighting isn't perfect or whatever, it's okay. It's okay, because I'd rather have an authentic piece that was done by students rather than a perfect piece that was done by adults.
You've had a lot of plays that kids have written that take on some pretty challenging content for adults in a community across a lot of different issues that are important to kids. Talk about some of those ways that kids have brought to life what's important in their world and what they think adults really need to pay attention to as well as their peers.
We've had plays about, well, we had one play that was a direct reaction to the white supremacy rally of 2017. That play was Josh St. Hill, A King's Story, and it took on white supremacist rallies and also police brutality. And he got a lot of pushback for that. And I'm really sorry, if it's one regret that I have, it's he and the mostly black cast of that play were kind of forced or coerced to meet with a group of white police officers. And it was all arranged by a black superintendent. So I kind of trusted that maybe this would be a good thing. It was not a good thing. It was a really bad thing. It was a very bad thing that left those 16-year-old kids crying because the whole point of it was to try to get these kids to understand the point of view of adult white police officers. And the man who was in charge of this, the superintendent, was showing videos from like Glenn Beck and like very right-wing like websites to sort of try to make these kids understand how tough it is for police officers. And like, that was so inappropriate. Now, he told me, he was a superintendent, and he told me not to talk through the whole thing. He said, you can take notes, but you're the secretary. You can't talk. So I didn't talk. And then my principal made me leave the meeting early so I could go cover my class. And it makes me angry with myself because if I had to do it over again, this was before the Tony. So it was before my Tony power. If I had to do it over again, not only would I have talked and ended the meeting and said, this is inappropriate, this is abusive to 16-year-old kids, but I would never have left them alone. So that's my biggest regret as a teacher.
And one of the things that I remember about that is that play kind of took off, despite the pushback, despite the effort to try to get it canceled, which there was, that was not going to happen. But you had local university, local arts center, and in fact, the local media said this is one of the most important things that happened in the aftermath of August 12th, 2017 in Charlottesville, Virginia.
And Josh got the opportunity to go to a Richmond organization called Spark and do his play on film with professional actors. So yes, but when I say local, I mean local, because if you go past this area and you go out to say like, you're competing in Turner Ashby land or whatever, everything changes. The judges change, the way they look at your play, everything is very subjective. And there have been some people who did not want to hear this stuff. and you know, they didn't want to. They voted down our plays because they made up reasons or whatever, but they always came out saying that you know, it was inappropriate or whatever.